Hello everyone, Press7 here, and welcome back to some more Bloons TD Battles 2. We're going to be showcasing all Tier 5 Spike Factories late game. So I guess it's kind of a Spike Factory showcase late game to see how good it is. And well, I'll just have to spoil it now. Spike Factory is actually pretty good late game. The recent Supermine buff I kind of wrote off as just like kind of a meh. Supermines definitely is of course late game tower, costing over 110,000 to actually be able to get. I feel like it's just kind of one of those towers that's just like, maybe, who knows. Supermines kind of come far from where it once was. In BT6, Supermines used to be one of the worst upgrades you can actually get, to now being actually pretty good in, well, in BT6 and of course in Battles too. But after kind of, just not really discovering, but just kind of echoing a lot better than what I kind of was before, you can actually even see here that Supermines is actually pretty easily affordable by around 30, and I kind of thought, that maybe, Supermines is kind of a tower that you really won't be able to get by round 30 unless you're going farms. But like even still in this game, even though like of course it is docks and we're both kind of stalling the rounds pretty heavily right now, Supermines was easily attainable by round 30. I don't even think I had to sell to get it. Now Milo was a season 2 Hall of Masters player. He just has the basic Hall of Masters badge, not any like top 75%, top 25 or anything like that, just kind of the basic Hall of Masters badge. I'm assuming he hasn't played since season 2, seeing as he's going Dartling Engineer, and I haven't seen this strat in forever. I thought kind of like, Darling Engineer was kind of a dead strat. After the Bloon Trap nerf, I haven't seen as many people run Engineer. One time I've really seen Engineer be kind of used as like, over in random quad. But, I don't really play too much random quad. But that's kind of the side point. So it's kind of like a trip down memory lane. He also has, Engineer Mastery as well. So, I assume he's pretty good at the game. Seeing as, when I tried to use Engineer back when I was using Wizard Engineer Village, I was able to get my Engineer by like round 5, but yeah, he was able to get his round 4. Admittedly, he did have Dartling early game, which did help him, to be honest. Honestly, I didn't really care about really feeding his trap too much. I was just kind of focused on what I was doing. It's just kind of like, it doesn't really matter. As his late game, I guess, is probably similar to mine, if I had to guess. He's an Ultra Boost Mad and Ultra Boost Master Bomber, of course, is his late game. That's his last tower, is Ninja. So I guess it's not really a pure meta strategy like it was before, which being Dartling Engineer Heli, DEH. It's kind of Dartling Engineer Ninja, which I kind of feel like might actually be better than DEH in some situations. The thing about this strategy is that since Engineers, you really are only ult eco, so if your opponent is going farms, you're kind of screwed, whereas, with Dartling Engineer Heli, if your opponent's going farms, you can still salvage with Chinook. Fast forwarding quite a bit, I was actually able to accumulate 1k eco by round 9 and afford a pretty solid defense. I've seen, kind of 102 Spike Factory actually is pretty good. I actually even did a video kind of showcasing 102 Spike Factory, and well, I'll just have to say, it's actually fairly decent. Of course, unfortunately, it's not really alch buff, so it's not really as strong as it really is, but I didn't really think of it. I didn't really know where to put, kind of Alchemist where it could buff boat and Spike Factory, so I decided to not even worry about it. Just kind of worried just like on maxing out his eco, as I figured that he probably doesn't, like, he could probably afford pretty much anything, even, with me not actually feeding his Bloon Trap, as he is ecoing pretty well. I'm assuming his eco is probably similar to mine, if not even better, seeing as he does have Bloon Trap kind of feeding him money periodically. Fast forwarding yet again, at this point, I just kind of assumed that this game was definitely going to go late game. 2k eco before Moabs come is pretty good, if I do have to say so myself. He starts sending purples. I'm assuming he was trying to get past these spiked balls, but there was no way he was going to sustain maybe like, infinite purples. I just decided to be safe and decided to go for a little cannon ship just kind of up top, just in case, spike balls does kind of run out of steam, but spike balls tanked most of that in. Did pretty well at that. Kind of impressed with spike balls. Again, I could have just, straight up stopped egoing here and just kind of went fully for, boat farming, as, since this is on docks, this is, of course, a perfect map for, Trade Empire farming, which I do end up kind of doing. And so I think it's my first time actually using Trade Empire. I usually just kind of, I don't really skip it, but I just don't really kind of bother with it, as I feel like, making all that money, I just kind of prefer, ending my games early to the point where I don't necessarily need the money from Trade Empire, versus, it's kind of like hitting it and then kind of whatever. Saying this guy is a Moab for pressure, just hopefully he actually does something. But surprisingly, HRP and, of course, his docks maps long enough that I was just able to straight up delete it. So, fast forwarding yet again, getting a round 24 Trade Empire. I think that's pretty good, as well as 4k eco to boot with it. So making some decent amount of money and seeing just how kind of good Trade Empire is just kind of as well. And I do think that Trade Empire is actually pretty good. It makes a decent amount of money every round. I know a lot of people are saying that, you know, boat alt eco is kind of the worst, and I do kind of, well, I don't think you can't really disagree with that, because I think if you do math, boat alt eco is kind of the worst form of alt eco, seeing as, you know, it's based on the end of the rounds, whereas the other forms of alt eco are based on, you know, just kind of time and second duration. It is the worst, but I think it's kind of a bit fine where it is. Favorite trades did get buffed last update. It's $600 cheaper, so I think that's pretty nice. Trade Empire I think is in a fine spot, although I think, you know, maybe it could be tweaked just kind of a little bit, so that way, you know, it can benefit on pretty much any map that doesn't, like, isn't docks or Saint of Times or Star, where you have just a ton of water to work with. Of course, you know, you shouldn't really be running boat on like something like In the Wall, which has like very little water to really work with. But like I think it could be tweaked just a little bit more, to where I guess not really like a buff or a nerf, but it's just kind of changed so that way it can, like, you can get the full effect of Trade Empire even like if you don't have something like docks. Anyways, we getting our first tier 5 factory being the form of P-Spike. Getting P-Spike for round 25 just to build up some spikes just in case, you know, decides to go in for round 26. He hasn't sent me a single balloon this entire game, so that's kind of, I guess, lucky on me, but I mean, I guess it's a bit boring just kind of straight up, you know, max out ecoing, just kind of, you know, just kind of playing passively. It's not really the most interesting way to play, but there's not really anything I can rush him with Darling Engineer Ninja. I just kind of assume that, you know, just take him late game and hopefully beat him there. Super Mines, hopefully, and Carpet Spikes will be enough in order to take it out. I decided to stop ecoing on round 29, just to maybe get up, you know, Super Mines in time, accumulating over 6k eco, and as well as having a pretty hefty Trade Empire army, even able to afford the likes of P-Brew at this stage. But of course, you know, not really gonna go for it, as P-Brew really isn't really gonna be too useful at the moment, but it will be used later on. Just kind of waiting, hopefully maybe he can do something. He has an Ultra Boost on his side, which is actually kind of curious. He's getting an Ultra Boost before he goes for his Mad. But I guess he got Ultra Boost so he can Ultra Boost the Rocket Storm, which he has there. And I think that's the Spike Factory emote, which is pretty nice, seeing that, you know, another Spike Factory fan. Of course, this is number 2 out of 3 tier 5s. I sent this guy a normal badge just to kind of see, you know, where is his money at? Can he afford Mad or Master Bomber? Because he did spend $100,000 on Ultra Boost, and so if he can't afford Mad, then he is kind of screwed. I maybe should have stopped ecoing just kind of there to maybe, like, you know, feed his trap and starve him of a little bit of cash, but seeing as he was able to afford Mad pretty easily, I figured, you know, it wasn't really, I guess it was kind of worth it to force him to get it up. It's a $60,000 tower and I only spent like 15k on it. I did lose some eco, but again, I have Trade Empire Army, and I'm still getting, you know, Trade Empires now, so, or not Trade Empires, still getting favorite trades now, so just kind of hoping that does something. At this point, I'm just kind of thinking about, you know, what round should I really rush him on, as I do feel like I can defend pretty late with Super Mines as well, since, you know, Carpet Spikes is coming soon, and well, Carpet Spikes micro is actually pretty interesting and something that I do in this game. But I mean, basically, Carpet Spikes works differently in BTD6, or at least I think it does. In Battles 2, if you sell and rebuy the Carpet Spikes ability, the passive Carpet Spikes ability comes immediately back up. So essentially, you can get 2 Spike Storms for like the price of like 40 something thousand. And since you do have favorite trades with, you know, this strategy, you can micro Carpet Spikes for a pretty long time. It's actually kind of genius, if I do have to say so myself. Even though it is cheaper to get 2 Spike Storms than it is to get 1 Carpet of Spikes, you do have to keep in mind, you know, with the Carpet Spikes passive ability, it's a lot easier to just kind of buy Carpet Spikes and sell it, and instead of trying to do 2 Spike Storms and then sell it back again. So again, it is sort of so it does kind of make sense, you know, why you end up doing that. Skipping forward to round 38, I decided to go not really all in, but to send a decent sized rush at his way, as I figured that, you know, ramping at this point is absolutely insane, so he probably, hopefully, will struggle when kind of defending all these balloons. And so pretty much my late game pretty much here is, you know, just kind of have Super Mines just kind of deal most of the bad damage, and then have Carpet of Spikes / Spike Storms kind of just do kind of whatever. I do have little TT5 army that in the front to just kind of do some decent damage to the bad layer. I didn't really get to see how much it does. It's kind of my one thing I wish it did, you know, just kind of click on it and see, you know, how much damage did actually do. So I wasn't really sure if Supermines was going to be able to defend around just kind of 38F bad at this point, just kind of like on its own. So I decided to use some Carpeted Spikes Micro, and as you can see here, the passive ability comes up immediately when you buy and resell Carpeted Spikes. And so you can get, like I said, you can get 2 Carpet Spikes ability for the price of only like 40 something thousand. But you do have favorite trades, so you don't lose as much money. Looking over to Milo's side, you can see here that Ultra Boosted Mads by Master Bomber and, you know, Ninja in general is just doing some work. He popped the bad incredibly quickly. He is struggling a bit against the insides, where I was just kind of fine, mainly thanks to BMA, which was a big help in this match. BMA also works the same as Carpet Spike, so if you kind of buy and resell BMA, you can just kind of infinite BMAs, although BMA can't attack camo, so really it's only good for like ZOMG. DT defense is kind of sketch, as I don't think you're going to be able to buy and resell BMA that fast. He sends 2 more F-pads as well as ZOMGs underneath. BMA again just deletes his ZOMGs, so we have to do even more Carpet Spikes Micro, probably the most micro intensive I actually had to do. Decided to send more bads his way as it's round 39, and he was struggling to round 38 bads, so I figured at this point, you know, maybe that can do something. I am starting to sell my favorite trades and / trade Empire Army, so which is not a good thing. Using my first monkey boost of the match just to hopefully get get Supermines to produce as many spikes as possible, as again I will end up struggling here. Over on Milo's side, he's defending those bads a lot better than I did. It's kind of insane that this strategy can defend all the way up to almost round 40, which looks like going to be a sudden death kind of match, which I guess isn't really a bad thing. So DTs did get semi-far, beat me, made to lead the ZOMGs, which is pretty nice. They had to sell Carrier Flagship, although Carrier Flagship isn't really too useful at this point, so I figured, and why not. And Milo is still equaling with Pinks even like through this match, which is kind of impressive. At this point, I was kind of getting a bit desperate. I didn't really want to go to sudden death, so I decided to send him DTs, so hopefully they do something. And newsflash, they didn't. I'm not sure what, just kind of just to lead them. But I'm assuming it was just kind of maybe, you know, Mad and maybe Master Bomber just kind of straight up deleting everything. Now, because I rushed him down to 0 eco and pretty much nothing to actually get in return. So this was just kind of like my last ditch Hail Mary, just kind of pass. And even then, I don't really think it was actually able to do anything, because even if the inside did get past, he does have Big Trap in the back. And at this point, I'm kind of out of money to actually buy and resell Carpet Spikes. Even Sun's good luck, because you think he realizes that, yeah, I'm kind of screwed here. So just kind of getting, you know, favorite trades back so I can infinitely buy and resell. I sold Perma-Brew, which ended up being a bit of a mistake, which you'll see kind of later on. It is the final round in sudden death. At this point, it's just kind of, you know, hopefully defend this bad and he dies the one that is on his side. Although looking at the damage phase of the kite pad, it's not looking too well. It's even at sudden death at this point. I'm honestly a bit surprised that both of us are able to survive all the way up to round 40. Kind of impressive. I don't think I actually was able to make it this far. I think it's the first time I actually made it to sudden death, as I do prefer to end my matches kind of way before that point. And so DTs are just kind of running through my spike factories, and I ended up dying to just kind of regular DTs. I don't think I was actually going to be able to win this match, even if I did remember to cross path my hot spikes, because at that point, you know, it was kind of out of money, and there's no way I was going to be able to defend that. So, bit of a bummer. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and join Discord. Link is down below in the description.